Good day, good day. um, there may be something, some neighbors are drilling, so in between you may hear some drilling sound on the background. But I want to share you a story, even though that I'm going on to do the story, and I'm starting to to do so. I'm starting with Genesis 1 and verse 26. I want to share you something which God revealed to me this morning. And God said, let us, Genesis 1 verse 26, and God said, let us make man after our image, after our likeness, so that they rule over the fish, over the sea, over the birds of the sky, over the flocks, the cattle, and over the entire earth, and over all the creeping animals that are creeping on the earth. And God created the humans after His image. After God's image, He created them. Man and wife, He created them. And God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue her, rule over her. Rule over the fish, over the sea, over the birds in the sky, and over all the animals that creeps on the earth. As you can hear, they're drilling. That's okay. Well, so God has made humans under His rule, under His supervision. And God said, rule over this earth, the entire earth. And of course, under the authority, the end authority of God Himself. So the humans should listen to God, and then everything was well. And so ruling in a godly way is always for the benefit of the whole creation that's there. That's what God's intention was. Well, something got in between, and ever since that was messed up. So if you look at the earth right now, it's a big mess. I mean, if the humanity rules over this earth, it's not in a proper way. But there is a reason why, and that's what I'm going to read right now. The snake now was the most cunning of the animals of the field that God has made, and He said to the woman, God has certainly said, you shall not eat of any tree in the garden? Question mark. Then the woman said to the snake, from the fruit of the tree in the gardens we may freely eat, but from the fruit of the tree in the midst of the garden, God has said, you shall not eat, nor touch it, otherwise you will die. And the snake said to the woman, you shall surely not die, but God knows that at that day that you eat from it, your eyes shall be opened, and that you shall be as God, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw that the tree was good to eat from, and it was a lust for the eye, and that the tree was desirable to eat from, and to get wise from. And so she took from the fruit and ate, and she also gave her man who was with her, and he ate. Then both their eyes were opened, and they noticed that they were naked, and they stitched fig leaves to one another and make themselves skirts. Okay. So the humans, initially, they were under the reign, under the supervision of God. And you can stay under the supervision of God by listening to God and doing what He said. It tells you to do. But it's a voluntary position. If you say, no, I don't want to listen, then you go out underneath the supervision of God. Well, what happens then is, and that's what's happening here, is that from the supervision of God and the help of God, and but also in the obedience of God, instead they listened to the snake. And they positioned themselves under the supervision of Satan. And Satan, that's why death entered. Because Satan represents death. God represents life and blessings and all goods. Yeah? And if you don't listen to that, and if you don't follow that, then you automatically follow death and destruction and all kinds of illnesses and sicknesses. That's what happened. That's why all the misery comes from. Because humans did not listen to God, but instead they listened to Satan. So they did not listen to truth. No, they listened to lies and put them under the supervision of the lies, and that's why this world is ruled by a lot of lies, yeah, in all kinds of sorts. And but We are so lucky. We are so lucky these days. Because what what happened else? And that happened about 2,000 years ago. And it's notified in Matthew 28, verse 18. And Jesus was died. He was crucified. He died, and he was put in a grave. And 3 days later, he rose again from the grave. And now he's about to go to ascend to heaven. But before he goes to heaven, he says in verse 18, Matthew 28, verse 18. And Jesus came nearby and spoke to them, to the disciples, and to us, of course, saying, "Me is given all power in heaven and on earth." That's a very important statement. Jesus said, "To me is given all." That's a very important word. All power in the heavens and on earth. It's a very powerful statement. Then he says, go and make all my peoples to my disciples and baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and teach them to maintain all what I commanded you to do. And see, I will be with you in all the days until the end of the world. Okay. What does that mean? Human was initially under the supervision of God, yeah, and God said, "Do everything well, rule in a correct way over the earth, and everything will be well." They did not listen, and God said also, "Don't eat from the tree of knowledge of good and bad." They did not listen to that, and they put themselves under the supervision of Satan. Well, 2,000 years, Jesus came, actually God himself came back, and he took back Satan had the reign over all kinds of stuff. But Jesus took that back. How do we know that Satan has got all kinds of reign over all kinds of stuff? Well, in one of the Gospels, I don't think it's Matthew, because I looked it up this morning. No, I think it's Luke. Luke or... oh, yeah. Yeah, in Luke. Luke 4, verse 5 and 6. And he, the devil, took him, Jesus, on the height and showed him, to Jesus, all the kingdoms of the world in one instant of time. And the devil said to him, to Jesus, to you I shall give all this power and its glory, because, and now it comes, because it is given to me, Genesis 3, what we just wrote, it's given to me, and I give her to whom I want to. So, and then Satan says, if you will worship me, it will be yours entirely. And Jesus said answered and said to him, there is written, you shall only worship the Lord your God and serve him only. So Jesus didn't buy that because, of course, he wanted to. He is God, so he knew better than that. But in the beginning, in Genesis 3, all power was given by the humans, by Adam and Eve, given to Satan to rule over this earth and to introduce death and pain and sorrow and misery and hunger and sicknesses, etc. So, but Jesus, when he in Matthew 28, he says, all power is given to me. So Jesus took the power back. Okay, how do we know that this is true? Well, every person who was under the reign of Satan, yeah, has the choice given by Jesus to listen again to Jesus, to God himself. And since Jesus has all power, Satan has nothing. Yeah. So what we see here, if a person comes from the kingdom of Satan to the kingdom of God, then he becomes a believer in Jesus Christ, then he is also put in the position to rule this world, the original plan of God. God said, rule over the entire earth. Now, that's what God said in Genesis 1, verse 26. And that's exactly what we see in this world. Ever since the Christianity has started with Jesus Christ, about 2,000 years ago, the Christianity has been growing worldwide. That's one thing. Secondly, the Western Christian world has been dominating, ruling this world. If you look at Europe, they went out to make all colonies, and they conquered all people, etc. And they spread out the gospel, the Bible, and God's kingdom, because they were all Christians in that time. And what you see is that Jesus Christ, or God, is ruling this world via the Christians mainly, and the Jews. I mean, the Jews and Christians, well, sort of, they belong together. And so what you see is that there are many people who wanted to rule the world without God. I mean, look at the Romans; they were destroyed. Look at Hitler. Look at the Japanese and Mussolini, etc. They all wanted to rule the world without God, and they failed miserably. I mean, the Roman Empire is destroyed, etc. But the European empire or Christian world, the European Christian world, has been spread out all over the world and has succeeded and has dominated the world entirely up till this day. What you also see is where the Christians are not accepted and are wiped out or killed or whatever kind of stuff, then the wealth and the good stuff is disappearing. The blessing of God is disappearing as well. As long as there are Christians, then the country is prospering. If the Christianity is removed, then that country is poverty-stricken. You see that in all kinds of Eastern countries where there's hardly any Christianity. There's a lot of poverty and a lot of bad stuff going on. Corruption and people die easily, etc. Low health situation, etc., etc., etc. So wherever Christians are, there is prosperity, because to Jesus all power has been given to rule over the earth and to rule over the heavens, and that is effectuated via the Christian population. And this is a historical fact. You can check it out. That in the time of the Christians, where the Christians ruled, Christ ruled via, or God is ruling that place via the Christians, etc. So being a Christian brings a lot of blessing, and it's biblically that God will rule this world via Jesus Christ, via the Christians, whoever follows Jesus, because you put yourself back under the reign, the dominion of God, and well, that brings blessings all along. And here in Europe, you can see the backwards also here. Here in Europe, only about 10, maybe 20% of the people are Christians still. Yeah, but it's diminishing. So what do you see? The dominion of the Western world is also diminishing because of that. Yeah, but if the European and the Americans go back to church and go back to Jesus Christ, then they will rule the world again. So and in the Eastern countries, in China and Indonesia, the Christianity is growing, and also in the Middle East countries, the Christianity is growing. So if that is growing and that cannot be stopped, then guess where the reigning and the ruling of the world will shift to? Maybe from Europe, America, to China, Indonesia, etc. In Christian way, in a Christian way. Well, that's actually what I wanted to share with you. That's a pattern that I saw and God revealed to me. And well, it's logical. It all makes sense from Christian perspective. If you accept the Bible, then that's a logical consequence of it. That Jesus Christ will rule the earth himself or via Christians, and whoever accepts the God of the Bible, including the Jewish people. So that's actually the message. Okay, bye.